Hello, I'm Kathy Bissell. Welcome to part two of our Ryder Cup Collectors Special. We have two experts from the Golf Heritage Society, George Petro and Bill Robertson. And we just finished talking about some Ryder Cup memorabilia, and now we've got more. Go for
Hey,
it, guys.
Bill, why don't you, since in case people didn't see the first half, tell us a little about the GHS National Convention, which is coming up in Nashville, October 14, 17. Do you have to be a member to attend? How do you join? What is there to do? Just give a quick synopsis give us the GHS Convention for Dummies.
Yeah, Gary, thank you so much. And Kathy also. Nice to be here with my good buddy, George. By the way, George will become the new president of the GHS at this coming meeting. So I'll be happy to be passing the gavel over to him. And he can deal with all the great phone calls that come in. But we're really excited to come back to Nashville. It's our second trip there. We're partnering with the PGA of Tennessee, otherwise known as Golf House Tennessee. And we're kicking it off on Tuesday with a very unique event. It's a two-person hickory scramble. And we're playing at Shelby, which is a 100-year-old city-old course. Donald Ross recently restored, and it should be a heck of a lot of fun. We like to give our members a golfing experience of a vintage course, and then if we can get on some really nice courses, we like that as well. So we're kicking it off there at Shelby, Gary. The next day, we start out with our tournament, and that's going to be at Hermitage, a very terrific course where they have sheep now on the fairway. So it's a throwback. And we're partnering with the Persimmons and Blades group, so we have a 36-hole Persimmons and Blades tournament within our tournament. So very interesting, people playing the classics of golf. And then the next day, we're going to have educational sessions. Andrew Green, the golf designer that's as hot as a firecracker today, he's doing his first course all on his own right there in town, and he's going to be talking to our group. One of our members, Tom Irving's going to be talking about Tom Morris and also Bobby Jones. And we are also having a very interesting chat by the people from Golden Age. We'll be talking about everything that's going on in the collection world. And probably the biggest thing is we're honoring Lou Graham, 50th anniversary of his win at Medina. And unfortunately, Lou is not in great shape. We don't know if he's going to make it, but we've got original art to commemorate that victory. And we've struck a beautiful coin with him this year that everyone's going to give as a token of our appreciation for what he's done for the game. So it's going to be 4 great days.
Isn't he from near there somewhere?
I'm sorry?
Wasn't he from
Yes, he is. He is a favorite son of Nashville, and actually, as a youth, he played at the Shelby Park course. So,
he did play Shelby Park.
Yeah, so it's really cool that we're doing all these things.
I have to like a convention that has golf scheduled instead of going to some other convention where you sneak out for golf. This has already got it planned in. That's what's great.
It's planned in, and if people go to our website, golfheritage.org. And they'd still like to be part of it, they can see the button there, they can hit, and they can join. My number's there if they got any questions. We're happy to welcome new people.
Okay, we were talking about collectibles for Ryder Cups. And I think in between our first and second part of this program, Bill went to get a couple of old clubs used by former Ryder Cuppers, I guess.
I did. This is a brassy, which is a 2-wood, and this is one of Hagen's. But the interesting thing is, I don't know if you can see the shape there. It's almost aerodynamic. It's got a little tail on it. So when they did this, I believe, and George, you can correct me, but it's the first one of its kind I've seen that tried to create some aerodynamics into the club like they've done over the last 30 or so years. And there's the there's the sole plate on the bottom that George was talking about. But this is a beautiful Walter Hagen club. And this is probably from the very late 20s or early 30s. So something
I
that would
like
have
how
been marketed
it's barely
in
the
better
size of
golf
a
stores.
hybrid now, in today's world.
That's right. And then here's a very famous club. This is the Ironman Walter Hagen sand wedge that I would say is probably the forerunner, wouldn't you say, George, of all the sand wedges?
Oh yeah,
I agree. In terms of the concept. So
Can you
this
lift
is
it
a
up a little
highly
higher? Lift it up a little higher. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
So highly desirable, highly collectible. People still want these in the original shape. So
did he have that made for him? Did he make it himself? And generally, Saracens get credited with the sand wedge.
Yeah.
Is there a story behind this one?
Well, George, I think there's stories where they say that he took a club and he dragged it to create the
bounce.
loft right here.
Yeah, that's true.
This was actually manufactured, I believe, on some type of production basis.
Yeah, by the Hagen company, because Hagen started the company.
Yeah.
So it's not the actual.
Saracen said he slept with a sand wedge at the British Open because he was afraid that they would find out about his club before he used it.
Yeah, they were pretty picky, and I don't blame them. Well, after they got burned by the Brits got burned by the center shafted putter back in 1903 or whenever it was, that the Americans were using and won. But there's nothing new. You started with clubs. There's almost nothing new. Like you talk about Streamline. There's a club called the Streamliner. Now it's maybe 100 years old. It's not hickory, but it's like a torpedo with a flat end on it. That's the Streamliner. Yeah. I mean, like if I went through the clubs behind me, there's steel shaft clubs from 1890 in there. I mean, there's anything you can think of today, wooden face, multi-metals, anything you can think of today, flex face clubs that would have bounce them, spring faces. They've all existed from the 1890s, 1900s in different forms. Somebody's always been trying to make it an easier game and then sell their idea. So it's very, very, very interesting. We were talking history, and I mentioned on the prior segment the 1921 event that was like a pre-Ryder Cup, same format, they just didn't call it Ryder Cup because Ryder wasn't involved yet. Before that, this is kind of a first for the world almost. Before that, in 1904, you can see a British and American flag on a pin. And this was held at Lambton, the Lambton Country Club. Bill, you'll know about this. Toronto, because you're Canadian, have a big Canadian. Well, this was Margaret Curtis's pin that she wore during the play, and I've got her scorecard too. I bought this in a box at an auction of grab bag. Who knew it was in there for like $300? And it had tons of stuff. And this is one of the things in her scorecard. And so in 1904, they played, the American women played against the Canadian and British champions together in a Ryder Cup format. And literally nobody knows about it, but that put the seed in her head that finally, after years of trying, the Curtis Cup.
Right.
Started in 1932. So it's kind of a little aside on that. You know what I mean?
When you went to 1904, I thought maybe it was something from golf being back in the Olympics.
Well, oh boy, you don't want to go there.
You opened up a Pandora's box, Kathy.
Yeah. I'm pretty much into the Olympic golf very highly with the trophies.
Well, we'll do another program on that. Let's go back to Ryder Cup.
I'm all in on Olympics.
Okay, we'll do another program on that. But let's go back to the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, that's a great find by George. Yeah. Bill, what's the most interesting or unusual thing you've picked up? It like a surprise, like George. You bought the grab bag and got Gene Saracen's gold tooth or something.
Well, the most interesting surprise I had, it was probably in the early 90s when I just got into books and I was traveling around Ithaca, New York, and I went into an old bookstore. Actually, it was in a barn, and I got this Walter Travis book, and I was just starting and didn't know the importance of things, and it was kind of dog-eared. But when I got it home, lo and behold, it had Walter Travis's signature on it.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
Yeah, and that's Practical Golf, which is, it's an important book. I parted with it several years ago, but I think I paid $10 for it at the time.
Walter Travis
so
is
that was
Walter
a surprise.
Travis is the gentleman who won the British Amateur using the center shafted Schenectady putter. That was Walter Travis. He literally changed the game in those early days.
Yeah, so that was a great find.
It was banned for a while.
Yeah, it was banned. They finally let it happen. It took a few more years, but he won it with that. Of course, we the same thing with the Haskell ball. The first winner, using the Haskell ball, snuck it in there and used the same ball for like 4 rounds, and it was ragged. But he goes, "I'm not giving up 30 yards." He was the only player in the field using the Haskell rubber wound ball in the British Open. It's cool.
George, in the early Ryder Cups, when the British ball was still, when they were playing those, did a lot of the British guys play the British ball as opposed to the U.S. guys?
You know what? I don't know the answer exactly, but I'm going to guess that they played their ball and we played whatever ball we wanted to play. There were later times where there were all kinds of debates, and finally they all switched to the larger American ball. But it's interesting you brought that up. I heard a story that in the 1929 Ryder Cup, well, America legalized steel shafts in 1924. The Brits didn't until the end of 1929. So you still had to use hickory in British tournaments. Well, the Americans show up at the 1929 Ryder Cup with the ones who were playing steel show up with their steel clubs. And the Brits go, "You're not using those steel clubs." So they had to dig out their hickories, which some of them hadn't been playing with for quite a while. And we got shellacked in 29. The Brits only won three Ryder Cups from 27 to 57. And actually from 27 to like 83 or something. There were only 3 wins. Yes. And that 29 wins, so they won like 10-2. It was ridiculous score, but I think not being able to use their regular clubs has something to do with it. So
I'm sure all the American guys got used to the swing, the flexing on the new shaft.
Totally different.
Yeah, we know. You go play around with hickory clubs, it takes a day or two to adjust. Right. Speaking of that, Gary showed some of his programs. This program's from '69. And it's kind of dog-eared. It's not much, but this is the personal possession of a guy named Eric Brown. And a lot of people don't know Eric Brown, but he was one of the top British golfers of the 50s. I mean, he was up there. He was 3rd in 2 British Opens. He was Varden trophy winner. He played in like 3 or 4 Ryder Cups, and then was the captain in '69 and '71. So this guy was a fierce competitor. Well, in 50, so the Brits won the Ryder Cup in 29 and 31, and then nothing for years and years and years. Finally, in 57, they won, and that was the 3rd win in all these 50+ years. And what's interesting is this Eric Brown went 4-0 in his 4 Ryder Cups in singles, and it was amazing. And he was such a bulldog. Well, he beat Tommy Armour, not Tommy Armour. Tommy Bolt. Yeah. Who broke clubs and was so crazy. Well, they were both crazy. Eric Brown and Tommy were crazy people, competitive on the golf course. And so Tommy Bolt in 57 tries to hurt Eric Brown, so he plays really slow because Eric Brown is a super fast player. Eric Brown sends his caddy to the clubhouse and brings a folding chair out. So every time Tommy Bolt plays after that, and he starts dawdling, Eric Brown sits down in his folding chair to give it back. He ends up beating Tommy Bolt like I think 4-3, and that was the year they won their first. They finally came back with a win, and so this guy. What's interesting about it is I have some of Eric Brown's stuff. That's why I bring him up. This is like the team sweater. This was his personal sweater. I got photos of the team wearing these things. Not a big deal there, but what's interesting, that 69 is the one we all know, but that's the concession. That's when Nicholas first time in the Ryder Cup 69, and Tony Jacklin, he gives them the putt. Sam Snead, who was the captain, is furious because, well, it was a tie and the U.S. retained the cup. They didn't win the cup, which ticked off a lot of players. But, Jack and Tony Jacklin have had a relationship ever since, which is really good. They even give out an award called the Nicholas Jacklin Award to the certain player, most
It's
as important role in the Ryder Cup, regardless of points. So very interesting.
It's amazing that concession was so big. I mean, historically, it's also amazing that Tiger Woods didn't take more flack for his conceding the last hole to Molinari at Medina when they could have had a tie. And I'll go back 2 years to Italy. Ricky Fowler concedes a 2.5-foot putt to Tommy Fleetwood that clinches the Ryder Cup. And there's no goodwill engendered by that. The Americans were kind of making a rally, and I know Tommy Fleetwood's going to make that 99 out of 100 times, maybe 100 out of 100. But when it's for the Ryder Cup,
right.
It ends your thing. I mean, keep it alive as long as you can. And I don't know what he was thinking.
No.
Maybe that putt was shorter than it looked on TV. I don't know, but I would have made him putt it. Just give him the satisfaction of holding the putt. That could be your argument later. Well, I wanted you to have the but you don't concede that putt. The one thing I know about the Ryder Cup, the one common thread is something controversial or a sore point happens in every single. In a lot of years, there's many, but there's something that happens every year that one side or the other get upset about, and sometimes it's bad behavior by the fans, which goes back to really 20. I don't know what the first 27, 29, I think was some issue, but they all have something, and a lot of this is chronicled in Hank Gola has got a book, Ryder Cup Rivals. He looked at the 13 most interesting ones, and one of the anecdotes he had was what George just said about Tommy Bolt and Eric Brown, and the details of that are just hilarious. So the Ryder Cup has a lot going for it because it's match play. It always gets personal, and then you've got the international thing going, and it's personal for everybody, including the fans.
Yeah, you said something about the fans, and I was talking yesterday, George, to our member Frank Cantrell, who publishes our news wire that we send out every month. And he said, well, what are we going to do for October? I said, why don't you recap the Ryder Cup? And I said, put a sportsmanship angle in there. What do you think? I don't like when the fans are rooting against an opposing country's player. I think that's poor sportsmanship. And
I think Xander's father said he's not going to go. He's not going to go because the crowds are so unruly. I know.
Yeah, and I think the officials need to do something more to tamp that down. I get the patriotism across the board, but they gotta put a lid on it. You can have a good time, but there's a time to be quiet too. So
well, maybe they throw somebody out right away, because if you spent $750 for a ticket and you get canned and you see somebody get taken out on the first green, you're going to go, well, maybe I'll keep my mouth shut and I won't have that seventh beer right now.
Yeah, like talking about being taken out, like last night in the Eagles game. Can you believe it?
Well, I mean, in some cases they need to remove fans. They remove them from golf tournaments all the time.
The fans do make it great, but it's just those people who go overboard. But it's been so fun. You got Patrick Reed shushing the crowd, and you've got, there's been like all the individual matches just blow yourself. When Reed and Rory had that match, and they're both sinking bombs, but at the end they actually hugged. It was like But those days are kind of gone, and it's going to be. I can't imagine what Bethpage is going to look like. It's going to be pretty noisy.
I think it'd be a little scary. I opted not to try to go this year.
When you say those days are gone, do you mean the days of anyone hugging Patrick Reed, or?
Yeah, I have to admit I haven't been a Patrick Reed fan since. I mean, there are a lot of things, but the backwards sand shot is I haven't perfected that myself yet, but
that thing he did when he won in San Diego, and he clearly was improving his lie, but he positioned himself so the camera couldn't see. I mean, I don't know.
It's pathological. Well, they
let's move off of rules and go back to collectibles.
Go back to the Ryder Cup. Let's get back to the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
Guys, does it affect the value of Ryder Cup memorabilia depending on how the team did that year? For example, Kathy showed us you showed us 2008. I was thinking the one Oakland Hills Ryder Cup where your scarf where the Americans got just crushed.
Yes.
Does that crush the value of in America of any Ryder Cup?
Does
that mean my scarf is worthless?
No. The most prominent collectors spending the most money tend to be in America. Though it's amazing, you will see things. People in China, people in Korea, Japan for a long time have been major collectors, but it's still American. So 99 Ryder Cup, will we win? Price is way up there. When we lose, the price is going to be down for those because people don't have a personal identification. And then nostalgia. So much about collecting is nostalgia. Like, I like 69 Firebirds because I had one, in 1970. I mean, it's like that. And when I saw Barracudas go by and Chargers and Corvettes, I go, gotta have one. So, well, now that I maybe can afford one, I go back and maybe buy one of those. So collecting is kind of the same way, but you're right. If you have a negative experience, the prices are going to be much lower for a loss than a win. And the time of the year affects collectibles. For instance, if you don't put Ryder Cup Collectibles in January, you do Ryder Cup collectors, you save them, and you put them in the month before the Ryder Cup when everybody's talking about it. It's the same with Olympics. We talked about Olympics. If you try to sell an Olympic item in an off year, you'll get twice if you put it the 2 weeks before, because it just, everybody's into it.
Yeah,
what would be the number one item on your, if you had a wanted list of Ryder Cup memorabilia that is out there or might be available? Never mind the price. What would either one of you guys have your eye on? Or
yeah, that's a very hard one. I think right now, I guess it would be, even though I'm not, quote, a program collector, I have what I think is the world's oldest program for that's aside from that in the 1890s. So I probably would. Nobody knows if there exists a 1927 Ryder Cup program. There is a Ryder Cup menu that was printed for a dinner. But the actual official, nobody's ever seen it. So I guess I'd like that.
What do they have for dinner?
I try not to think of such things because it starts the juices flowing and that gets painful.
What do they have for dinner in 27?
Chicken. I'm sure chicken.
Okay. Well, how about you? I know it's a tough question, but I'm not here to ask easy stuff.
Yeah, it's a tough question.
Yeah. You know what? I wouldn't mind a significant apparel item. I think it would kind of be neat if you had a sweater vest or a shirt or something in pristine condition that you had to go through all the Ryder Cups. There you go. Because each captain makes them so much different. I mean, look at what Crenshaw picked out that year.
Yeah.
You see the bags all over, but to me the shirts are very interesting.
There's a lot you can collect though that's not expensive. It can be done.
Yeah.
The little Foxburg Golf Club, which is about an hour north of me, it was founded in 1887. It is one of the 4 or 5 courses that claims to be the oldest. They say they're the oldest continuously operated public course, but they've got a little. They call it a museum, but it's really one room. Somehow, I think it's Dow Finsterwald's bright red Ryder Cup jacket. And I'm
Oh,
not sure, maybe from, I don't know what year it was, 67. I don't know how they got it, but it's
he was
sitting up
he
there in
was
the room.
he was a captain one year.
Yeah, the thing I would like, even though it would not really have meaningful value, was from the year in Wales, where they decided to make those rain suits and the team uniforms for everybody, the wives and the officials, and they put their names on them, and they made them look like jerseys. I'll never forget seeing Tim Fincham walk around with his, I don't know if it was a pullover or a rain jacket, and it had the rings around the shoulders, and the back it had his name Fincham spelled out across. Like I mean, honestly, he looked embarrassed to have to walk around wearing that, and I thought that was like, oh, that was great. I'd love to have that jacket wherever it is.
You know what I think would be the coolest would be Hale Irwin's putter from 1991. There was a putt that meant something.
Well, how about whatever Kathy Jordan was wearing, where Hale's drive hit in the back and
in the back, yes,
kept it from going way into the dunes. And then there's the mystery of whether someone also not her, but some fan may have guided it toward the fairway after the fact. We'll never know that one.
No, we won't. Only one or two people know that, and they're the people who were involved.
Sure.
Kathy Jordan wouldn't have done anything. She got
no, it just happened to hit her. It was her bad luck. She was escorting the president and the trophy. They were taking that down to the green,
right,
to present it, and they thought they were out of play, but they didn't realize the pressure clearly got to both those guys.
Yes.
Hale Irwin was the most relieved guy on earth because he butchered that hole, and Langer kind of did too. But Bill, George said his favorite Ryder Cup was 99. If you had to pick one out, what would it be?
Well, I mean, that was a good one too. I mean, I told you about clothing. I would pick that one. I was in the clothing business, so to me, those shirts put out, it just drew me in, and there was such energy that year. It really was. So
yes, there was.
I would ditto that.
A few of those shirts have gone up for sale at auction, but so they're it's possible.
I think
Christmas gift.
I think I would go with the War by the Shore in 91, because in 89 I was at the Belfry and things got so acrimonious with Seve and Azinger and some other stuff going on, and 91 was a real payback year, and of course there was littered with controversy that year too. You can go talk about the Azinger Chip Beck match with Seve and Olazabal, in which the Spaniards violated the rules 3 times on the first 7 holes. And that's why the Americans were so irate that they switched balls which you weren't supposed to do then. They played, I don't know who's playing a different ball, but on the par 3 they switch. And Seve and Jose call them out on the 10th tee, but they waited 2 or 3 holes. So, but that shook those American guys up, and they got crushed in the back 9. But
so any predictions for this year?
I don't know.
I think the U.S. is going to win.
I think Europe's got a pretty good team, and they've got a great captain who smartly, made those videos for the players to get them invested. The videos are not just like their shot highlights. It's videos of their family members and this and that. I mean, every one of them cried their eyes out when they saw these videos. Luke's made them play. They're playing for their family names, not just their country, and that really, he knows how to motivate guys. I thought that was impressive, and he's got the same team back.
Yep.
So the Americans are busy crying about how much they're getting paid. I mean, it's the same old story. We look like ugly Americans every 2 years, and I don't know if Keegan Bradley finally doing something unselfish maybe will turn the tide on that. I'm really impressed that he did that. I kind of thought he would, because he never gave an inch on picking himself. But honestly, I'd probably pick Europe if I was basing it on what I've seen Luke Donald do.
I say he's within three points, though, the match.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
It'd be a good year to bet on a tie, because those odds are pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Luke is
George?
really clever. He's very, very clever. Yep.
And he spent a lot of time. I mean, even though he's on that team, he's been over here so long. You know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, he went to college here, so he went to Northwestern.
That's what I say. He was a Northwestern guy, right? I think Chicago area, right?
And I've got an old Cialis Western Open program that he painted the cover artwork for.
Yeah.
Wow.
He painted the cover of Jim Furyk, and it was pretty good, except the eyes were. Luke's wasn't prolific on painting human eyes back then, but we've digressed so far. But yeah, Luke, I don't know. You should always pick the home team, I guess. But Europe has done so much that it's hard for me to.
I don't see how you pick against the crowd at Bethpage because they're going to be crazy New Yorkers. And
yeah, but if you're the opponent, that just makes you want to play harder. It's not gonna bother you. It's going to make you, I can't wait to shut these people up.
I don't, but they can't. That's the thing.
No, I know. Well,
I thought if Rory was at the top of his game, I would have definitely leaned European. And right now it's just too close to call. But he's off right now, so maybe that'll help. If he goes out in an early foursome and loses, that will give us momentum. It's always that first match on Friday just sets the tone. And you mentioned, arguing over who's paid and stuff. I mean, I just read that each American player, not the captain, gets $500,000, $300,000 goes to charity, and $200,000 is his stipend. So they are getting paid.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting.
I
I
didn't
don't feel like
know
they're
that.
getting paid enough.
The last time they went through that was like 1999 or 97 or something, and the PGA agreed to pay
Give
them money that would go to a charity rather than putting it in their pockets. And it's like Gary has said many times, these guys get so much money during the regular year. Do they really need to be paid for this? But, I don't know what expenses they could possibly have. Maybe they pay for wives or family members or something like that. That's the only thing
As I recall, Mark O'Meara used that money to donate it to his child's elementary school.
Oh, and that's good.
That's really the kind of charity he had in mind, but because I'm sure his child was going to probably a pretty nice school.
Not to be religious, but they forgot that saying, "Forgotten country," right?
Yeah. Well, 2 years ago in Italy, you have the big flap about Cantlay's not wearing the hat, and and the thing with LaCava and Rory, and the telling moment for me was in the last round. Justin Thomas doesn't wear a hat, and he makes a birdie, and he pretends to tip his imaginary cap to the crowd like that's going to shut him up. He looked like a fool. And by the way, if you check the scoreboard, Justin, you guys are getting killed.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're winning, that might be a signal, but when you're losing, you're like, why are you guys so immature about this? I don't know. I'd like to say they've learned their lesson, but I feel like they haven't.
Yeah.
It's a tough
Maybe Bradley
competition.
is the guy who made the gesture that will teach them what they need to know.
Yep. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. It's been another sterling half hour.
We
Of our
covered every
opinions about the
conceivable
Ryder
thing of the Ryder Cup.
Thank you, Kathy and Gary. Much appreciated.
It was a pleasure.
And we'll see you next time.
Yep, check them out at the GHS convention in Nashville in October. You still got time to get in there.
Yeah, we'll see you in Nashville. We'll buy you a drink.